It is 10 a.m. here in Atlanta, 6 p.m. in Abu Dhabi. Hello, I'm Lynda Kinkade, in for Becky Anderson. Good to have you with us. Welcome to Connect the World. We begin with new details emerging on the assassination of Haiti's president. Authorities now say 4 suspects were killed in that shootout, 2 others taken into custody. President Jovenel Moïse was killed in his home early Wednesday. I want to play for you some sound that's said to be from around the time of the assassination. I have to say that CNN can't independently confirm the recording's authenticity. You can't see anything, but you can hear someone who reportedly claims to be from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. Take a listen. Haiti's ambassador to the U.S. says he doesn't believe they were in fact U.S. drug enforcement agents. The country right now remains under a state of siege, with its borders and international airport closed and martial law imposed. So who were the suspects and what happens now to Haiti, which was already a very troubled nation? CNN's Matt Rivers joins us now from Miami, Florida, which of course has a large Haitian population, and you are at the hospital where the First Lady is being treated. She, of course, was with the president when he was assassinated. What are you learning right now about what unfolded during that assassination? What are you hearing about the suspects?
Yeah, there's so many questions that remain unanswered at this point, Lynda. I mean, we're outside the hospital here. I can tell you that the First Lady, who was medevaced here yesterday, is said to be in stable but critical condition after also being shot during this armed assault of the presidential residence. But let's give our viewers the latest of what we know from the Haitian government, specifically from the ambassador from Haiti here to the United States. The ambassador saying this morning that 4 different suspects believed to have taken part in this assassination have been killed by Haitian National Police. 2 others have been detained. So that's 6 in total, with the ambassador saying that all 6 of those people were foreign nationals, though he is not saying from which country those 6 people are from. He said they're still trying to figure out their nationalities, but he says all of them are foreigners at this point. He also says that there could be more than 6 people involved in all of this, and so this manhunt for anyone who was involved in this assassination is very much ongoing at this point. But to that sound that you played earlier with someone saying, you know, this is a DEA operation, both the State Department here in the United States and also the Haitian government, both strongly, categorically denying that the DEA actually had anything to do with this. They believe that the people who carried this out are what they're calling extremely trained mercenaries posing as DEA agents. But that just leads to more questions. Who are these people, Lynda? Who is financing them? What was the motivation behind killing the president? We know he had a lot of enemies over the past few years. What is the reasoning behind all of this? And not the least of which would be, how were these people able to actually get inside the presidential residence? We know that there are multiple security checkpoints that exist before getting to that residence. This would be presumably very difficult to fight your way through, and yet the only 2 people that we know said to be injured in all of this are the president and the First Lady. We have no reports of people inside the house, for example, security forces engaging in a firefight, being injured themselves. So there are so many questions that remain unanswered, and how quickly we're going to get those answers is a very open question at this point.
Yeah, plenty of questions, not a great deal of information, as you say, at this point in time. I do want to ask you, Matt, about who exactly is running the country right now, because as I understand it, the Prime Minister was meant to be replaced yesterday by a person selected by the president before this assassination.
Right, and so this is the big question, right? Who is going to actually be in charge of the Haitian government? Right now it would be, the acting Prime Minister, Claude Joseph, but Ariel Henry was appointed by the president to be prime minister shortly before his death. Henry has said that while Joseph is a part of his government, he is not, quote, his prime minister. The clear line of succession, and it's a murky line of succession normally in Haiti, but the clear written line of succession was supposed to be the president of that country's Supreme Court that would take over should something happen like what happened to President Moïse. However, the president of the Supreme Court recently died of COVID-19, which leads us to this current situation. Claude Joseph, the acting prime minister right now, would have to be confirmed by that country's parliament. That country's parliament is essentially defunct. It hasn't sat since 2020 because there's been a lot of issues with scheduling the next round of elections, which is part of the reason there have been so many protests there. So I say all of that, Linda. The conclusion of all that would be it is very murky right now who is running Haiti today and into the near future.
All right, Matt Rivers for us. A lot to stay across, certainly a developing story. We will touch base with you again soon. Thank you.